Thanks, Savannah. Hi, everybody. I'm Andrea. And before we dive in, I would love to get a sense of who's here with me. So if you can either come off mute or drop in the chat, let me know if you are a first time mom or if you've got a few with you. And for me, I am a first time mom. I've got a beautiful rainbow baby boy who is 13 months old, and he is just my everything. I'd love to know about you guys. All right, I don't see any response yet, but that's okay. And then also would love to know if you guys are willing to share. Oh, first time mom, 10-week old. Oh my gosh, you are in the thick of it. Awesome. Well, thank you for making time to be here. That's awesome. Also, I'd love to know if you are comfortable sharing if you are currently breastfeeding or pumping. I did both personally. I actually went into pregnancy thinking, I'm just going to pump the whole time. I'm not going to nurse at all. And as soon as I saw the little guy, I totally switched and primarily breastfed all the way up until about 12 months. We just started weaning. And so that is something that's very close to my heart. Whether you pump or breastfeed or do formula, fed is best is my thought. So whatever you're currently breastfeeding, and we'll start pumping soon. All right, awesome. Cool. Well, thank you for sharing. I know that sometimes it can feel like, oh, am I going to be judged for one thing or another? But look, everybody's journey is your own. And that is what I want you to remember as we talk through everything today. So I am a certified Faster Way coach. Faster Way is a clinically backed program for fat loss. And it is something that I have kind of had a love-hate relationship with, if you will. So I actually started Faster Way about 5 years ago, and I was really into it, and then I experienced a pregnancy loss. And after that loss, I just didn't feel like I could do anything. I was like, if I can't track my food, it's not worth it. If I can't do the workouts, it's not worth it. And I had this all or nothing mentality that just kept me stuck for a really long time. And so when I was about 3 months postpartum, I was actively avoiding looking at myself in the mirror. I was afraid to put on clothes because I was afraid they wouldn't fit. I didn't want my husband touching me. Anytime someone would want to take a picture, I'd try to put something or someone in front of me because I was just in a state where I didn't recognize myself and I didn't like it. So if that resonates with you, I want to acknowledge that those are all fair feelings. Your feelings are valid because they are your own. And also, I want to acknowledge that I personally had very intense postpartum depression and postpartum anxiety. And so those things are very real and they can definitely affect how you see yourself. And so part of today is about putting ourselves first and realizing that we don't have to chase perfection, but we do matter as moms. And I want to acknowledge too something that I feel like doesn't get said enough, which is motherhood can be super overwhelming. Even when it is deeply wanted, even when you have yearned to be a mother for so long, and when your baby gets here, your hormones are shifting, your sleep is disrupted, your body is healing. All of these things are in flux, and somehow people expect you to function like a normal human. And sometimes that's just really hard. And so I just want to acknowledge that. I also want to make sure that y'all know that I am not a doctor, medical doctor. What I'm sharing today comes from research, professional training as a certified Faster Way coach, and my personal experience from being a mom and from coaching other moms as well. And so nothing here today should replace medical advice from your healthcare provider. So please make sure that you always consult your primary doctor before making any changes. So another question for you guys, I love questions, so you're going to get a lot of them today, is did you have a birth plan or birth preferences? I went in saying birth preferences because I knew nothing would go to plan, but did you go in with a thought of how your birth experience would go? No, okay. And then what about, you did not, always got overwhelmed, fair enough, and yes, kinda. Okay, now how many of you had a postpartum plan? Nope, I didn't either. Nope. Yep, most women don't. And yet, this is the season where nourishment and movement matter arguably more than ever for your energy, your mood, your recovery, your milk production, all of that. But like I said earlier, motherhood is not about doing everything perfectly. And so today is not about perfection either. It is about creating a safe space for education and support. And so we're going to talk through some pillars today. And the first one that I really want to touch on is nourishing your body to recover and support milk supply. So how many of you heard while you were pregnant that you needed to eat for two? I know I did personally. Yes. Okay, awesome. So that is still true. However, when we hear eat for two, that does not mean the quantity. For me, it means the quality. And so I want to be very clear, and that when we say eat for two, it's not eating twice as much, it's eating twice as well. So after birth, a lot of women actually experience something called postpartum depletion. And it's not a failure, it's not something you did, it's just what happens when these nutrient stores are drained over time. And pregnancy is really hard on your body. I'm sure you've seen the studies where it's like pregnancy is harder than running a marathon, or like running a marathon every day for 9 months. And so your body goes through a lot. But those low levels of nutrients, things like iron and B12 and zinc, those can show up as brain fog, anxiety, hair loss, feeling like you're just not yourself. And a lot of that's like, oh, I'm just tired. I'm not sleeping through the night. But it could actually be from nutrient depletion. So there's a lot to think about when we think about nourishment. And so what I want you to take away from this first part is that nourishment is not optional in this season. It is foundational. So making sure that you are fueling your body well so that you can function at your best, even when you are not sleeping through the night, even when you feel stretched thin. And so at the Faster Way, we focus on prioritizing eating whole foods. And so a simple way to think about that is foods that are in their most natural state. And so one of our favorite sayings is that if it comes from the ground or had a mother, it's fair game to eat. Now, that doesn't mean that we never eat packaged foods, but it means when you do, choosing things that have simple ingredients that you recognize, and also being mindful of how much you're eating. So if you are breastfeeding, most women need about 300 to 500 extra calories per day to support that milk production. And initially it sounds like a lot, but it's often just a snack, like a yogurt and a banana or some fruit and nut butter. A lot of times that in and of itself is that 300 to 500 calories extra that you need. And so it's super easy to overeat if you think, oh gosh, I need all this extra. Now, I also want to talk about cravings because they are very real, at least they were for me, especially when you're exhausted, especially when you're nursing. And so the goal when we're thinking about nourishing ourselves is not about restriction, it's about flexibility. And so one of the things that I love about Faster Way is we don't use the word cheat meal, we call it a treat meal. And that means that we have treats that are planned into our week. So it makes them guilt-free. It's part of real life. Like, I love ice cream. I love sweets. And so giving those up in their entirety was just not something I wanted or was willing to do. Especially when I was 3 to 6 months postpartum, those cravings would hit hard while I was nursing. And so what I started doing, and one thing that's worked really well for the moms that I've coached, is making some smart swaps where you can. So instead of ice cream, a smoothie bowl. I am now obsessed with smoothie bowls. If you look me up on Instagram, probably 90% of my posts are smoothie bowls because I just love making them and they're so good. And then also thinking about, if you are a big candy eater, so if you like Snickers or Reese's, doing a banana with peanut butter instead. And so finding those simple swaps that are similar but a little bit more nutrient dense. And then also thinking about eating out. Like, it is definitely one of those things where, at least for in our household, it was like, I don't feel like cooking. I can't even think about it. Let's just order something. And so when you're ordering out, when you're eating out, drive-thrus, just making some better choices. So for me, that meant at Chick-fil-A getting grilled nuggets and a kale crunch salad instead of my usual Chick-fil-A sandwich and fries. And so some of those little swaps can make a big difference when we think about nutrient-rich foods. And then as we're thinking about eating, how many of you have heard of something called the what the hell effect? You can put in the chat or come off mute. Have you heard of the what the hell effect? No. Okay. So this is a literal psychological phenomenon. And basically, it is, let's take Oreos, for example. So it's where a minor lapse in your self control basically leads to abandonment of all of your other goals. So I'm up at 2 a.m. nursing my son, and I go to the pantry and I grab an Oreo. And then I think to myself, oh, gosh, I already messed up. I ate one Oreo. Like, what the hell? I might as well eat the whole sleeve. And then, well, I ate the whole sleeve. I might as well just eat the whole package. So then it's not even a temptation for tomorrow. That is the what the hell effect. And it is very real. Google it. You can look it up. But one thing is that awareness helps to break that cycle. So one choice does not cancel progress you've made. And so when you think about what's the next best thing I can do? I had one Oreo today. Okay, maybe this week I get to have one Oreo every single day. That's when we talk about our treat instead of cheat, where we're working it into and we're planning on it so it's guilt-free, because that guilt eating can turn into binge eating too. So again, that awareness helps break the cycle. So one of the most powerful things that you can do during this season to make nourishing yourself easy is being prepared. And so how many of you have been nap trapped or have been in the middle of a nursing session and you're suddenly starving out of nowhere? Or maybe you are nap trapped and you're like, gosh, I haven't eaten today. Has that happened to any of you? Erica, yes. Is that a raised hand? Yes. I see oh yes in the chat. Yeah. Okay, perfect. So me too. So nourishment needs to be within reach. When healthy food is just there, then you eat better without even thinking about it. So grab and go snacks where you nurse, in your purse, in your fridge, those make a huge difference. So for me, I had a little bucket that I had filled with some of my favorite snacks that were 1 ingredient, 2 ingredient, things like solely fruit jerky. It's literally just pineapple. Things like the Bear apple chips, literally just apples, some apple with cinnamon. The Chomps jerky is a good option for some protein. Looking at the rind dried fruit, which is literally just fruit that's been dried. The Navitas Organics Power Snacks, for me, I love those. They had the goji berry ones that were delicious. So having packaged snacks, again, that are minimally processed, no added sugar, no chemical additives, just those simple ingredient things. Make a bucket, make a basket, whatever you need, and have it right by your nursing station or like in your car, wherever. So that way, when that hunger hits, it's easy just to grab something that you know is a good choice. And so that key takeaway here is set yourself up for success by having those healthy snacks ready and waiting so that it makes healthy eating the default, not the exception. And then another thing about food, there's so many things about food. Do I have a list of some of these simple ingredient snacks? I can email you one, Erica, for sure. Let me put my email in the chat for you. Email me and I will send you some of my favorites. Because yes, I do have them. And they are still my favorites now that I'm 13 months postpartum. So another thing that we want to think about with food is carbs. So let's take a moment to like praise carbs for a moment, because they are your allies, not your enemies. Like, I feel like diet culture has just made carbs look so bad to everybody. But the thing is, when you're not sleeping through the night, if you're navigating those hormonal shifts like we all go through, carbohydrates actually fuel your brain. They regulate your blood sugar. They help fight fatigue, which, like, hello, fatigue. That was number one thing on my list when I was newly postpartum. And carbs also provide you with quick energy that your body needs. So even though years and years and years we've heard from diet culture, like, oh, there's this stigma around carbs, they're bad for you, your body needs good carbs to function at its best. So when we think about carbs, also think about fiber. Fiber is something that's really important, that until I went through the certification to become a faster weight coach, I had no idea how important fiber was, and I was drastically under eating it. Most women need about 25 to 30 grams of fiber per day, and when women start tracking, especially the moms that I've helped, just based on what they're eating today, it's usually 10 grams or less. And so fiber-rich carbs are going to be things like oats, berries, sweet potatoes, carbs that really help prevent energy crashes and help prevent constipation. which is really important. I had a lot of that postpartum, just to be totally blunt and honest. I labored for 34 hours and then my epidural came unplugged, which was great, and then ended up in a C-section. And so afterwards, I had a lot of pain and all of that. So the more fiber helps things move a little bit better. I know some of you know what I'm talking about. I will not ask you to raise your hand or put it in the chat, but it's something that's very real. So that fiber can help with passing bowel movements. And then one final nutritional habit that I want to encourage, and maybe one of the most important that we'll talk about today, is to feed yourself first, at least once a day. So I know for me, it was like, I have to feed the baby, or I have to get a snack ready for my husband, or we've got people coming over to see them. There was always something, but by putting yourself first, plating your food first, it tells your nervous system like, hey, I'm safe, I matter, I'm okay. And then when you have that little nervous system reset, even just a little bit, it helps with digestion, hormone balance, milk production, all of those things, because you go from a state of being like fight or flight into a sense of safety. And so feeding yourself first once a day can be really, really important. So I'm going to pause there because I know we covered a lot and we still have a lot more to go through. So any questions on eating for quality and nutrient dense foods and having snacks ready? Any questions that I can answer? Give a minute for the chat just in case. Okay, if something comes up, I'll come back to it. So another thing that I want to chat about is that as new moms, instead of obsessing over what we eat, I really want you to start noticing how food makes you feel. So this is something that as women we're told, like, eat healthy, get enough nutrients, but very rarely are we taught to pay attention to how our bodies respond to certain foods. And this is something that I really like to focus on with my clients, is tuning into your body to gain an understanding of which foods you may have sensitivities to. Because a lot of women actually find that some foods that did not affect them during pregnancy or even before they were pregnant have a significantly different impact in their postpartum era. So by tracking what you eat and how your body feels afterwards, you can get a clear understanding of what might be causing some inflammation, what might be causing some blood sugar swings, what might you have a intolerance or sensitivity to. So just keep a short log. Like if you notice, gosh, like for me, it was like every time I ate a certain type of bread, my knees would hurt the next day, which was really weird. But when I started tuning into like how food actually made me feel, I saw that pattern. And so you can think like a short log, 30 to 60 minutes after you eat something. Do you feel energized? Do you feel bloated? Do you feel sleepy? Are you anxious? Does your stomach hurt? And then also think about, okay, the next day or the day after, are your joints achy? Like my knees were achy. Did you have trouble sleeping more than usual that last night? Did you get a headache? Things that you can just start tuning into. So those subtle patterns can help reveal some imbalances in your blood sugar, possible intolerances, maybe even a stress response that could show up. And so those patterns tell us a lot. And if you notice consistent issues, then that information is really valuable to share with your primary doctor or healthcare provider. So really tracking how foods make you feel. And then when we think about how we feel, how many of you have heard that you need to drink more water while you are nursing? Anybody? That's my reminder to take a sip. Yes, yes. Okay, perfect. So drinking water is important, but I'm going to challenge you that being hydrated is better. So drinking water is an action that you take, but being hydrated is a state that your body is in. And that includes having enough fluids and enough electrolytes for your body to function at its best. And so you've probably heard that breast milk is about 90% water. So that thirst can hit really fast. Like even during letdown, you can be like, oh my gosh, I feel like I haven't had anything to drink at all day. And that's a totally normal response. So in addition to drinking water, we want to include water-rich foods, things like cucumbers, tomatoes, watermelon, lettuce, in our lunches and dinners and all of that, so that we are getting nutrients from things other than just water. And then another thing is just keeping a water bottle nearby. So when I talked about having that snack station right by wherever you're going to nurse, have a bottle of water in there so that even if you have one with you, if you drink it all, you've got a backup. So having that there. I also like everyone of my clients to have what I call a sip strategy. So for me, that's like, okay, if I'm running an errand, if I'm stopped at a stoplight, I take a sip of water. Or maybe it's every time a new song comes on, you take a sip of water. So just reminding yourself to drink water. But again, drinking water is an act that you take, but we want our bodies to be hydrated. And then another thing is, I know a lot of people are like, oh, you can have too much salt, but drinking too much water without enough salt added to it essentially can even be worse. And so if your doctor is good with you adding electrolytes, just one package a day or one packet can be helpful. So again, thinking about how can you be hydrated. So while it can be helpful to track the amount of water you're drinking, it's arguably more important to drink water when you're thirsty and to watch for signs of dehydration. So things like a dry mouth, dark urine, dizziness, those can be signs that you are dehydrated. So again, we want to focus on that hydration piece. Okay, again, we're going through a lot. So any questions on anything yet before I move into movement? Okay. I promise I'll come back if there are any that are dropped in the chat. So movement. One of what I think is one of the most overlooked and powerful tools for moms is something called NEAT. Does anyone know what NEAT is? No. Okay, we have at least one no. So NEAT is an acronym that stands for Non-Exercise Activity Thermogenesis, which is basically just a fancy way to describe the calories that you burn through everyday movement that is not formal exercise. So things like walking to your car, picking up your kids' toys, those activities are things that are burning calories even though they aren't formal exercise. And NEAT is actually really important postpartum because that gentle movement supports circulation, helps regulate your blood sugar. It can even help with digestion and your mood of just like getting your body moving. And so once your provider clears you for movement, walking is a really good place to start. But for me, to get a little extra NEAT, it looked like putting my son in the stroller and walking down to the mailbox. Or putting on the baby carrier and letting him nap while I Swiffered the floors or prepped stuff for dinner and lunch the next day. So those gentle activities help you rebuild that strength and support healing when you are exhausted and tired and feel like you don't have energy. So NEAT is really important there. Now, when you are cleared for exercise, strength training is one thing that is really, really important. A lot of people are like, oh, I'm just going to do a bunch of cardio. But strength training is so, so important for us as moms because when we think about all of the activities we do as a mom, lifting car seats, doing a million airplanes for me, I never wanted to stop because that cute little giggle and a big old gummy grin, I just wanted to keep lifting him up into airplanes. So we've got to build that strength back. Carrying, maybe you've got 2 kiddos, so carrying both of them. We need strength and muscle to be able to do that. And so functional strength is what helps protect your body and can actually help reduce pain. So it's not about pushing yourself to the max, but it is about supporting your changing body. And I want to just acknowledge the bodies that we had before we were pregnant. Those are long gone. Honor your body as it is. It just did a miracle of creating life, giving birth to a new being. Your body is going through so much, so please honor that and don't chase getting back. Just be where you are. And another thing with strength training is really thinking about your core and pelvic floor. So even if you had a C-section, your pelvic floor muscles still went through a lot because they carried all of that extra weight of your baby and the amniotic fluid and everything for 9 months. So even if you didn't have a vaginal birth, you still have 9 months of stress that was put on your pelvic floor. And so with that said, functional strength training is super, super important. Even lifting weights a few times a week, 2 or 3 times a week can be really helpful. Now, I know I said this before, but I want to say it again, which is that, for me, when I was about 3 months postpartum, I was holding on to so much of that excess weight that I was afraid to try on clothes because I didn't want to know how they would fit or not. I didn't want to look at myself in the mirror. I wanted people or things in front of me anytime someone tried to take a picture. And that's just not the place that I decided I wanted to keep living. And so if that resonates with you, I want you to hear this next part clearly, which is that the pursuit of fat loss or weight loss should never jeopardize your ability to nourish your baby. If it is important for you, for your baby to have your milk, generally we want to wait at least 2 months for your milk supply to be firmly established before we actively try to lose weight. And even then, we want to do gradual weight loss and we want to protect your milk supply. That is so important. And that's why when I work with moms, I need you to be very honest with me of, is your baby having enough of those wet diapers? Or is your supply dipping? Is it not? So while you're in that season of change, we want to celebrate on wins and focus on small, repeatable habits over quick fixes. So becoming a mom, it takes so much effort, so much time, so much mind share that when we think about movement, one walk around the block, great, excellent, that is wonderful. One balanced meal, great. One 15-minute nap, because rest counts as movement too. Rest is also important. And when we think about moving our bodies outside, did you get natural sunlight within 30 minutes of waking up? That's fantastic. So we want to focus on things we can do in this season versus punishing our bodies or trying to reshape them. There is a time and place for it. And that's one thing that I get kind of deep with my clients is figuring out where they are in their postpartum journey, where they are in their nursing journey, and understanding what is an appropriate goal for fat loss or body composition changes. And if you notice I'm saying fat loss, it's because you've probably heard muscle weighs more than fat, which is not true. 1 pound equals 1 pound, but muscle is denser and it shows up in your body in a different way. And so we really focus on thinking about body composition changes, not just the scale. We actually just this last week had a Smash the Scale initiative, which was a lot of fun. So I encourage you, if you have a scale, go throw it in the trash or take a baseball bat to it. It's very invigorating. So let's see, how are we on time? We got about 30 minutes. Okay, so any questions on movement, on knee strength training, doing what you can? How much time per weightlifting session? So with the faster way, we actually recommend short intentional movement. So for us, that looks like 30 minutes per day. The 30 minutes on some days is high intensity interval training, which for me, for a long time, because I did have a C-section and had a bit of pain, essentially. I had some scar adhesion. We have low impact options, so high intensity does not always mean high impact. And then for weights, we do those about 3 to 4 times a day or a week, focusing on upper body, leg day, total body, and then also putting in active recovery. So things like yoga, Pilates, that kind of thing. But we see results with just 30 minutes a day, which is great. And it's really about being intentional with how you're moving. And so in the faster way, every month, just about, sometimes every couple months, we change our programming. So right now we're in progressive overload. And so the trainers continually change to keep your body guessing so that you continue to see results. Okay, any other questions on exercise, movement? Okay. So the last little part that I want to talk about, which isn't really nutrition, isn't really movement, but is arguably more important than both, is your nervous system and intuition. So one thing that I encourage you to explore with your healthcare provider are any nutrient deficiencies in your postpartum mood, including vitamin D. So supporting your body can play a really important role in your mental health. There are foods that are scientifically proven to boost your mood. You can Google it. But more than that is that your intuition matters. And so I say that because your intuition is better than anything that you will find on Instagram or TikTok or a 2 a.m. Google search like I did, which is really hard because we live in a time where information is everywhere. Like you can scroll Instagram for literally 20 seconds and find 15 different perspectives on the same thing. But you know your body, you have been living in it your entire life, and you know your baby. You are connected to it in a way that no one else ever will be. And so paying attention to what you inherently know and what you feel is really important because no app and no influencer can decode your instincts. So I want you to tune in and honor the wisdom that you have inside of you, and also recognize when you need help. And when you do need help, like you don't have to become an expert. There are experts out there for a reason. Just like for me, becoming a fast story coach, I wanted to help other moms that were in a similar spot that I was. And so if you need support, please ask for it. And so before we close and I open it up for questions, I just want to leave you with a few things that you are allowed to prioritize yourself. That if you feel like you are behind, you are not. If you feel like you're weak, you are not. You literally just created life. You are still healing. I am 13 months postpartum, and I still have days where I'm like, gosh, is this like, am I still in this? And the answer is yes. Yes, you are. And lastly, is that you deserve support. So those are the things that I want you to take with you. And then just to kind of recap some of those key points we talked about today, look at your health as an investment, one of the best investments you will ever make because it is in yourself. Eating twice as well, not twice as much. Keeping nourishment, meaning healthy foods, within reach. Making sure that carbs and fiber are part of your nutrition every single day to support your energy and mood. And being really mindful with your movement to prepare yourself for all of the joy that motherhood brings. So gentle movement to begin, and then really that functional strength training to be able to keep up with your kiddo. And then lastly, that you are allowed to go as slowly as you need because every journey is your own. So with that, I would love to open it up for any questions or comments about what I shared today, the faster way, my journey, anything. I am an open book, literally. So no question will offend me or be unanswered.
I have a question.
Sure.
I'm sorry, my video's off. It's
You're good.
running around over here. Um, I had a question regarding, and again, it's like you see a million different reviews and info online about calcium and with our bones and
Mm-hmm.
how we become calcium deficient postpartum. Is that anything that you've seen in your line of work or anything that you would recommend?
So, calcium is definitely one of the many nutrients that we can be deficient in. Though, for at least the clients that I have worked with and the ones that have done testing, I've seen the most deficiency with zinc and iron, but I know calcium is one of them. With calcium, a lot of people think, oh, it's just in milk, but there is actually, I think, I'd have to look this up, but I think that there is more calcium in almond milk than there is in cow's milk. And so there are a lot of ways to get calcium worked into your diet. But for me, I haven't specifically seen that with the clients I've had. They've had other deficiencies.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, and thank you for your question. Anybody else? Any other questions? Okay. I know I covered a lot today, so I will drop my email in the chat one more time. Send me an email if you would like any additional information. I know Erica wanted some of my snack recommendations, so I'm happy to share those. So please feel free to email me. Like I said, I am an open book. If you are in the Castle Rock area, I'm also more than happy to get together in person if anyone has questions.